Hello. I hope you had a great week. I had a fantastic week. We bought a couch. We're starting to do some Easter celebrations, did an Easter egg hunt. It was a fantastic week. Anyway, let me talk about some books I read this week. Now, again, in the mix up of time, um, there are some books I missed that I want to talk about now. So, the first book I'd like to talk about is Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chabakhtari. Yeah, I say that wrong, and I'm sorry. I apologize to her. But it is a fantastic book series. So, this is book two in a trilogy, the Daevabad trilogy. And if you haven't checked this trilogy out, you should really start with City of Brass. The pacing of this series is amazing. The characters are lovable, and this whole book kept me on my toes. I was on the edge of my seat pretty much the whole time. So, in the first book, a young girl named Nari finds out that there is this Jinn world and that she is half Jinn, maybe full Jinn, and she gets whisked away to go live in this Jinn city. And there's all this political stuff going on, and also she falls in love with one of the Jinn, or maybe she doesn't. I don't know. It's a really good read. I think you'll love it. It has a lot of political intrigue. There's some magic. If you like fantasy, you should check that one out. The next book I read was pure amazingness. Now, this book is a book that I asked people which one I should read, and they all said, "You should read Hello Beautiful." And to everybody who said that, thank you. This book was fantastic. The writing blew me away, and the storyline was really great also. It's not that the story was like super captivating, but the characters made it so captivating and lovable. In this book, there's a multi generational family, and you get to watch them grow and have children and learn from each other. It's a beautiful book. Highly recommend Hello Beautiful. The next book I read was If We Were Villains by M.L. Rios. I didn't get the hype. Didn't get the hype on this one. I know a lot of people loved it. It's a dark academic book, and I liked the Shakespeare aspect of it, but honestly, I didn't love any of the characters. And to me, character is so important. And the plot wasn't all that driving either. So there wasn't anything really driving me to read this book. So overall, I don't know. If you like dark academia and you like Shakespeare and you like the theater world, then you might like this book. It just wasn't my favorite. The next book I read was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I have been waiting forever to read this book, and it finally came on Libby, so I just had to get it. And it was good. However, everybody keeps saying that this book is so different from her STEM books, and I don't see it. I feel like she has these characters and they're all pretty similar. So if you liked her STEM books, you're going to love this book. It just adds a little bit more fantasy elements. Now, what I really did like about this book is how she talked about the species as if they were species, like vampires and werewolves, as if they were species of people instead of being like mutants or superheroes. So they just had some variants from human instead of being like these mystical, magical creatures. And I thought that was kind of cool. It was more paranormal than like super fantasy. And you can tell she's a sciencey person because it felt more sciencey than fantasy. So overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was very Ali Hazelwood. If you like her other books, as I said earlier, you're going to love this one. So check it out. And another book I read this week was The 7-Year Slip. And I did not know I was going to love this book as much as I loved this book, guys. It was so good. I wasn't expecting it to be magic realism. I just thought it was a romance. I saw it going around and I was like, oh, this will be great. So I picked it up and then it had a little bit of magic realism in it. And oh my goodness, I was in love. I love this book. I love the main characters. I especially loved the male main character. He was so adorable. And I thought their chemistry was really well done. And yeah, so if you haven't checked out The 7 Year Slip, what it's about is there is a woman and her aunt just passed away and she moves into her aunt's apartment, and every once in a while the apartment will jump back 7 years in time, and it's usually at a crossroads in your life. So she goes 7 years back in time. She meets this man and they fall in love, of course. And then she has to deal with this 7 year gap. So super good. You should definitely check that one out. I think you'll love it. And the last book I'd like to talk about was The Will of the Many. Now, if you've been following me elsewhere, it's taken me forever to read this book, and that's because it's an ebook. I usually listen to audiobooks just because I don't have a ton of time to be sitting down and reading. Also, this book was a little slow. It's hard to get into. There's a lot of world building at the beginning, a lot of character development at the beginning of the book, which I like. But for me, it was a little bit too much. Then you get about, I don't know, a little bit over midway through this book, and it just starts to pick up. And you're getting sucked in, and you're getting sucked into the political aspects and the magic system, and there's a lot of questions you want answered. And overall, this book made me ask more questions and want to have more answered. So I loved the ending. The ending is just, I'm still thinking about it to this very day. And I think I'm going to think about it until book 2 comes out. I think book 2 is going to be fantastic. We already have this world set up. There's not a whole lot of world building left to do. It's going to be more character development and more plot driven. And I'm so excited. So excited. This book felt a lot like Red Rising. There's a lot of development that needs to happen, and there's this school aspect, and then there's this deeper political moment. So if you liked Red Rising, I think you would like this book. It is slower though, and not quite as gory, but still gory. Needless to say, if you liked Red Rising, then you should definitely check out The Will of the Many. Anyway, that's the books I read this week. What books did you read? Let me know.